Hi, it's Kim from Expressions of the Universe. Can you believe that I'm actually here and doing this? I've been wanting to for so long, and it's all up in my head, but I can never get the energy to actually do this. But I've been gifted so many decks in the last 6 months ish that I thought I really need to unbox these. I need to check them out. And what a better way to do that than to maybe pull some cards for each zodiac sign and share the unboxing with some of you. So I got this one at Christmas time from one of my friends, and it is the fairy tale heroine, and it's very, I guess, fairy tale-ish. It looks like Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf. Haven't cracked it open yet. And then my friends for my birthday just recently gave me this Urbana Witch Oracle. So I thought, let me pull some cards from each of these. But before I do that, let's talk about some of the astrology, the upcoming full moon in Capricorn, and the intense energies that we're going through and that we're in because I know we're all feeling it. So many of you reach out to me every single day telling me, like, WTF, what is going on in the stars? And I've been trying to keep up a little bit more with some of the planetary aspects. It has been intense, but I think that there is relief in sight somewhere far out on the horizon. I don't know how far. I'm like 18, 24 months ish. It looks like things could be turning around. So we just have to kind of stick together and stick through this because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I promise. There always is. Some of the notes that I wrote some notes down, and the first topic is, where have I been for all these months? Well, kind of wallowing a little bit. I want to say that, not only are the planetary energies heavy and really hitting my chart in like every direction, that's not an excuse. Those are just really some heavy lessons for me to clean out my closets, to like sever things and let things go once and for all. Also, major healing, which we're all going through. But I feel as though exactly 2 years ago, the summer of 2024, I had a wake up from this naive reality that most people were like me in my heart. And as time has gone on over the last 2 years, I've realized more and more how naive I was. Um, and then the revelation of how people really are, it has just brought me an immense amount of grief, which then triggers depression because I'm shocked and amazed at how awful people can be and how awful people are. And so many people still hide and shadow that away within them because I don't know. I don't know what, like, how to explain it, but I know a lot of you know what I'm talking about and that people have been showing their true selves, which, to be honest, I am fully grateful for. There are little subtle things that people have said, say, starting back 2 years ago, that I kind of looked at like, oh, did you really just say that? And then I dismissed it because I like to believe that people are like me in my heart, compassionate, inclusive, um, you know, whatever, but they're not. So I've been going through a lot of grief, as I know a lot of you are, because I've been in touch with so many of you that feel the same way I do. But I feel like relief is in sight. I'll show you a chart of upcoming energies happening about a month from now. You'll see. And I feel like this full moon in Capricorn is really kind of the tip off, the opening of that gate, so to speak. Um, yeah. So, yeah, let me go and show you the chart for this full moon real quick. Have that up. Uh, 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 uh. It's been so long, I don't even know how to navigate through here. All right, so here is the full moon chart, full moon in Capricorn. I don't know why it's coming up Elkins Park. That's where I was born. But it's not far from Philadelphia. And I am keeping it at Philadelphia because it's just easier for me. That's Eastern Daylight Saving Time. What I noticed right away, well, it's at 8 degrees of Capricorn. The sun is at 8 degrees of Cancer. I know several people who have their moon or other planets at 8 degrees of Cancer. So I find that interesting. I know that that will affect them. But the thing that stood out to me the most here for this chart was the angles. So the ascendant, descendant, and the top of the 10th and 4th are all cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Cardinal signs mark the beginning of something, um, something brand new. And then full moons, as we all know, usher in the closing of a chapter and the discarding of what no longer serves. And this is in the Capricorn Cancer axis, which is about nurturing and stability. And so, what I have to say about that is, with it being Cancer season, I did talk about that with the depiction of the Hermit card, a hermit crab in the Hermit tarot card, because think about the crab. It has this hard outer shell exterior, and that is to protect its soft insides. Cancer is ruled by the moon, so it's a very emotional water sign. The body parts associated with the crab would be the eyes, because they often have these two little eyes standing up. Um, the breast, the thorax, the stomach. So like that whole area. The eyes are co-ruled with Aries. Trying to think, did I miss anything? And so um I don't want to keep saying that word. It's been a while and I'm not used to this flow. But anyway, what I intuitively picked up from this season was that we need to protect our soft insides, because so many of us are very sensitive to the harshness of the world, the harshness of people in the world. And that could be our family, our friends, our co-workers, people that are strangers out in, mundane life, when you go to the store or you're driving somewhere. Everybody that we encounter, there's a harshness about it because so many people are going through some really difficult times. We kind of need to protect ourselves and shield ourselves. what I'm getting from this moon, so you can see this lovely, almost cradle image of a basket. And I'm going to show you another chart coming up where it is an actual basket. But think about the fourth house. That's where Cancer lives. The fourth house is about the home and the family and the mother and our ancestors and our roots and where we live and how we live, how we are nurtured, how we nurture ourselves, and how we allow other people to nurture us. So much of that energy is in this full moon. And I just felt like if the people around us are not nurturing us, then they need to go. If people become are not safe to be around, meaning like we can't be open and vulnerable, they need to go. The people that we need to surround ourselves with need to be a safe place, a safe landing for our soft, tender soul. And so that doesn't mean that we won't encounter or have to deal with the harshness of the world, but we can choose when we have our own free time who and where to spend that free time with. And it has to be a safe, nurturing, soft landing place for us all. Um, so, yeah, if you have questions about that, let me know because it's very deep what I was picking up. Um, we shouldn't be walking on eggshells. We shouldn't be trying to be anything other than who we are. And I know that for myself, like I have not been vulnerable because I have not felt safe around the people that are around me. And it's really sad. It's very depressing. There are, I can count on one hand who I feel that good with. Actually, that's not true because there are a lot of you out there that I really do feel safe and comfortable and vulnerable with. But I'm talking about like in the physical, immediate surroundings. And I have to keep going back to it, like the feeling that I get when I am around my granddaughter and that love that I have for her. I discovered in a meditation journey recently that had me point out who I don't feel safe around and then wrap those people in love and send them on their way and then bring in who I feel immense love and safety with. And it was my granddaughter that showed up in that meditation journey. And then it was actually Lee Harris. I saw him live in New York City, who I love and I've been following since February of 2012. And he said, okay, see this being in front of you and remember this feeling that you get when you're with this person. And your relationships should feel like this. And if they don't, then you have to really kind of send them on their way. And so I have to keep reminding myself that that's what I'm striving for every day. Now, of course, in our daily interactions, we're not going to find that total safety and security every day. But if that's the goal that we're trying to go for, then I think that that's a beautiful thing. Let's see. So this full moon is on June 29th, and it's kind of late in the evening here on the East Coast of the United States, which is perfect, but it could fall into June 30th for those of you in the UK and Europe, because you are 5+ hours ahead of me. So hopefully there won't be any rain and I'll get to see this full moon. Weather is very testy around this time of year. This is the full strawberry moon. So think about the sweetness and beauty and lusciousness of those red ripe strawberries. And I think this is the full strawberry moon, if I'm not mistaken. I could be crazy and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that that's what it is. Anyway, if you take a look at this cradle, what is forming, we're coming into this configuration that has been coined as Barbault's basket or Barbault's cradle. So Andre Barbault, who only passed away, I believe, within the last 5 or 6 years, he was a French astrologer that used his own calculation of cycles, of Zodiac cycles in mundane astrology, and has been able to predict financial crashes, COVID, years ahead of their time. So the financial crash in 2008, he predicted that using his mathematical calculations. He also predicted the COVID crisis using his mathematical predictions. The beauty, though, is that the configuration that is coming together is not a crisis, but something beautiful, like a Renaissance period that is coming. Now, I have to remind you that on the days that these happen, that's not always exactly when it happens. These configurations, I'm going to switch over to that chart real quick. And it's upside down, but you can see like the basket cradle, there's like the handle. Some people are saying that the handle is Jupiter, but looking at it sideways, it doesn't look right. What this configuration, this Barbault basket is, there what he says in his theory is the large outer planets of Uranus, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, Jupiter, when they are all clustered together, there is a crisis. And he has marked this through time and history. On the opposite end, when they are separated, so you'll see here's Jupiter in Leo, here is Uranus in Gemini, Neptune in Aries, Saturn and Neptune in Aries, but Saturn's not being included in this configuration, and then Pluto in Aquarius. They're all fairly well separated, and take a look. They're all at 4 degrees. 4 degrees Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. They're making this configuration. And so what he says is that when they're separated and they're at an exact mathematical configuration of aspect, then a renaissance appears, because this doesn't happen that often, that they have this separation with the degrees all coming together. So it's expected that after this, within the next 18 to 24 months-ish, that there should be some sort of a renaissance period. What I will say is that a lot of astrologers right now are saying, let's stop sharing. A lot of astrologers are saying, oh my gosh, this is going to be like the age of Aquarius. This is great. All this positivity, rainbows, sunshine. And Andre Barbault has specifically said that during these times, as much as he thinks it's so wonderful, he said you really have to go through the muck to get to that renaissance. You have to go through those hard times to get to that like brand new type of, not utopia, because a lot of people are saying this is going to be utopia. And he said that this is not utopia. He says it's like a reconfiguration, socioeconomic reconfiguration of the world, like a turnover of regimes, a turnover of governments, things restarting, things becoming brand new. And so, which leads me to my next thing of like I'm really getting so annoyed with AI astrologers, sun sign astrologers, people um trying to make everything into rainbows and sunshine because like the world sucks right now. And so, I mean, that is nice, but I feel like that's toxic positivity. And today earlier, and this is one of the reasons why I'm on here, uh, somebody that I follow, I think they're in the UK, they post religiously every day, beautiful posts, and the graphics are beautiful as well. Posted about Mars and the Pleiades coming together, the seven sisters of sorrow. And they're like, oh, this is going to be so wonderful and spiritual and in whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, no. So you have to go read my post on Facebook and Instagram because Mars is the planet of war, the god of war. Okay, think about the mythology. The Pleiades were the seven sisters of sorrow. And then there was no mention of, but it's there, Algol, which is called, it's a fixed star, the demon star. So these are all at the end of the constellation of Taurus, Taurus the bull. Well, Mars is in its detriment, in its worst placement. It hates being in Taurus because Taurus is ruled by Venus. And Mars is masculine, Venus is feminine. And when Mars is in Taurus, it doesn't have the energy to be forceful. It's more stubborn. It's very slow and brewing instead of like fast like it wants to be. And then the Pleiades, the seven sisters of sorrow, usually an emotional time. Um, there's usually a lot of weeping. It's typically traditional astrologers, ancient astrologers always mark the moon crossing the Pleiades or planets crossing the Pleiades as a time of weeping. And then you've got Algol, which is the fixed demon star representing Medusa, you know, the lady with the snakes, who was actually vilified by the patriarchy. And she was actually a gorgeous goddess. And men turned her into the snake being. Perseus comes through, you know, because she was punishing men at this point by turning them to stone when they looked at her. Perseus came through, cut her head off. And so Algol actually sits in Perseus, which is pretty close to the constellation of Taurus. And so when planets or the moon or the sun typically cross over that section, it shows like some kind of figurehead or a leader, or even us losing our heads, volatile, aggression, or literally losing our heads. So you can go back through history year by year, like when things are passing over it, you'll usually see pretty bad accidents, people dying. So I just think that we should use that energy to get our tasks done and do our errands. I'm using the energy to create this. And that's all I have to say. So let's crack open this Fauna Witch Oracle. I already have this box open. I didn't crack open the cards. And it's been so long since I've done this. I'm going to pull cards for every zodiac astrological sign. This deck, ooh, this is pretty. I love that. By the way, I have stitch my stitches, my scar, which is pretty nasty. I know you can't see it on the camera, and I have a broken finger. I'm not wearing my splint right now. It seems to be doing a little bit better, but I have a couple more weeks. Lots of injuries. Uh, but anyway, this gorgeous deck is by Alice Guidi, and it's written by Cecilia Lettieri. So it's Italian. I love that. Oh, the art is by Alice Guidi, and it's written by Cecilia Lettieri. Doesn't really say other than that. I guess maybe it was a collaboration. Oh, and now these cards, here's the anchor card. I love that. It's the magician. So are these, wait, the margin. Does that say the magician or the margin? I don't know. I read it as the magician, okay, because you have moth and butterfly and owl energy. That's pretty magic. The margin. Maybe I'm gonna have to check out this book before I do your card readings. Um, all right, so we have that. I have, but it's also encased in plastic. So they really wanted to protect this, which I love for the fact that let's protect it. And I've had so much ghost activity here, by the way, yesterday. Speaking of protection, I was in the bathroom and I messaged some of you, so you know. Actually, I think I only messaged maybe two or three people, but I was in the bathroom and I hear boom, 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 like tumbling down, and it was really loud. And it sounded like something was tumbling down the stairs. And I'm like, what could that be? I knew all of my animals were taking a nap because I myself was preparing to take a nap. I got up, I looked down the stairs, I don't see anything. I came into the kitchen and I looked upstairs over there and I don't see anything. And I went and lay down and took a nap. When I woke up, I found that the camera upstairs captured a stack of Christmas decorations that were in bins. One was in a brown box that the decoration came in. Everything weighing somewhere between like 5 and 10 pounds. It was, fairly heavy. You could see a white light coming down through the stack, and then everything gets toppled over. That is not the first time that I have had that happen in that same spot. So I did go upstairs. I restacked everything, freaked out a lot of my friends and family. Um, I decided not to stage or use Palo Santo because I saw that white light and the way it was glimmering. And I really feel that it was my mom, maybe, or somebody very close to me trying to get my attention and say that they're here to support the things that are going on in my life right now. So yeah, um, if maybe one day I'll share that with y'all. So here we have that deck. Now we're going to open up the fairy tale heroine Oracle by Sharon Blackie, and it's illustrated by Amanda Clark. My friend Honey gave me that for Christmas. Alex and Jenna gave me the Urbana Witch. So funny. So I love to crack the seal. And I've had this deck since Christmas, and I'm just opening it now with y'all. I did purposely save it for the next time I did a video. All right. I need to read from the book. Maybe I will. Maybe I will just pull cards and see what comes to me. So I'm thinking Capricorn is the rising sign on the full moon. So that would be in the first house of the self. Maybe we'll go from there. So Capricorn, this is about focusing on yourself and your self-image. Remember, you want to pay attention. I can't, because of my finger, I can't shuffle cards properly. You want to pay attention to your sun sign, your rising sign, and your moon sign. So you could potentially get three cards here. Well, double that. Going to pull from both decks. One card from each deck. Yeah, if that said margin, I have no idea, but I saw magic. And maybe it'll change again the next time I look at it. All right, so Capricorn is the first house. I'm going to start with that sign only because the full moon is in Capricorn, and then I'll go around the wheel from there. All right, so Capricorn, first house, it's about yourself, your self-image, the face you put out in the world, and you're getting the well. And so could this be a wishing well or falling down into an abysmal, non-ending hole? I think that goes both ways. And then for the Urbana, this is kind of funny. You got the like a rainbow. And so it's strawberries and blackberries. So sweetness and thorns. And of course, what comes to mind is the Rolling Stones song, She's Like a Rainbow. But I was also talking a lot today about, people wanting the astrology to be all rainbows and sunshine, and it isn't always because there are sometimes those thorns. This well, I think this is about thinking deeply. It's about not allowing yourself to fall down into a well of non ending abysmal despair and making a wish for the future on this full moon. That's what I'm picking up. Whether it's correct or not, we will not know because I haven't read these books yet. I'm just going by my intuition. The next sign would be Aquarius, and that's the second house. We've got Pluto there. Aquarians are going through big changes over the next 14 years. In this particular setup, the second house is about safety and security. It's about our material well being, but it's also about our values and our morals. So, those are the things that you're going to be focused on during this time. We have cards stuck together. So, the card that is coming up here is sacrifice, and that looks pretty ominous. And it's what are you willing to give up for safety, security, your values, and your morals? What are you really willing to put on the line for the agendas that you're pushing right now? And then your Urbana card are the rune, like rune stones. So in this case, the casting of the rune stones, this is like what is in your fate and what is in your destiny is what I'm picking up. And it's like, be really, really careful about what you're willing to sacrifice to get what it is you think you want. Because it really kind of is like a roll of the dice. Next in line is Pisces. Pisces, you're sitting in the third house, and the third house is about our our childhood friends, our siblings, our cousins, our neighborhood, our transportation, short day trips here and there. And it's also about communication. I have to mention, speaking of that, Mercury is going to be going retrograde in Cancer, uh, same day as this full moon. And the following day, Jupiter moves into Leo and Mars moves into Gemini. So we're really moving into some like kind of crazy trickster energy. All right, so Pisces, you have the shape shifting card. And so it's like you're turning into a werewolf. Is this a Jekyll and Hyde moment? Are you having to show two different faces depending on who you're with? And so that's what I'm picking up from that. Are full moons driving you crazy and turning you into a werewolf? Think about your behavior and are you a safe place? Are you a safe nest for people to come to, or do they fear you and run away? And then you have the marigold card, which to me, the marigold is a symbol of Dia de los Muertos. It also repels pests in our gardens. Um, and I see these moon phases. And so it's interesting that it's going with the shape shifting because it seems like, okay, Pisces, you're going through some kind of crazy phase in your life, but the marigolds are showing me that there's going to be some kind of a ray of hope, a light at the end of the tunnel, is what I'm getting. Okay, Aries, you have disguising. So why are you having to hide yourself, Aries? I really feel like it's because Neptune is going to be in your sign for like the next 14 years and you're hiding away your true self. I feel like a lot of people have hidden away their true selves. They're afraid. They're afraid to be vulnerable because society around the world says like you have to fit in somewhere and a lot of us are afraid if we reveal who we really are then we will be shunned. That's kind of what I feel like, Aries, you're not showing your true self. And why are you disguising who you are? You're not being true to yourself is what I'm hearing. And then you have the helichrysum. I have no idea, but what I'm seeing here, the helichrysum, it looks like yarrow to me. Looks like a yarrow plant, which is a really all healing plant. We have the crown here, so it's like queen of the healing, um, showing your true self and revealing who you are and allowing yourself to heal and stop hiding away from not being who you are. And if you can't show up to people or places as your true self, if you're not accepted, well, then that just shows you that that's not where you belong. And those aren't the people that you belong with. Taurus. Oh, and I didn't talk about so for the Aries fourth house, and it's about the home, the the ancestors, the root, the nurturing, the lack of nurturing, the mother, the father, the family, also the children. Taurus, you will be occupying the fifth house, which is about romance and creativity and playfulness and children, good fortune and good luck, taking risks. And I laugh because I'm a Taurus rising. And so, yes, I'm really in the thick of what I posted earlier, but it's the sleeping card. And if you know me, you know I love my naps. You know that I am going to bed every night. I you like my phone gets shut off by 7 o'clock every single night. I am in bed. I am preparing to sleep. I would like 10 hours of sleep per night, and I love my naps. So, but to be serious, This is saying step away from all of that activity, maybe, and make sure that you get plenty of rest so that you can enjoy the activities of the fifth house. But this is saying take a break, take a beat, take a step back. This is a time for really maybe cocooning. And maybe that's why I was picking up on that intense hermit crab energy. But I love this. I love this for me. And then the Urbana card is the rowan tree. And I don't know too much about that. Let me, I'm not going to waste the time and look it up in the book, but I believe, don't even know. That rowan tree, come on, come on. You would think that they would put these things in alphabetic order, but they didn't, did they? No, they didn't put these cards in alphabetic order, so I have no idea. Oh, there's a whole bread in the tree. I don't understand this book. I mean, I'm going to really have to look into this. Um, the rowan is recognized by its red berries, yeah, which I see. And they're actually small apples, contain poetry of autumn season, the sacred tree of the Celts, yes, dedicated to the goddess Brigid, which is about the spring. You know, my friend Dawn's newest granddaughter is named Rowan. So this is about spring and it's renewal. And so do we sleep until then, Taurus? Are we sleeping until the spring? I don't know, but I think you know, this is a good cue to really take a rest, take a beat, take a break. All right, Gemini, you will be about the sixth house. This is body, mind, spirit, daily routine, our small pets. By the way, my bay girl Bay, my little Bailey Marie, will be turning 8 years old tomorrow on June 28th. If you're catching this later, it's still relevant. So we are going to be celebrating her. But Gemini, the sixth house is also about work, um, the people that we're in service to. And the housekeeping card comes up. And so this is great for the Geminis. This is talking about taking care of your house, but not just your physical house, which I've been cleaning all day. Um, but it's house cleaning every aspect of your life, body, mind, and spirit, your daily routine, your computer tabs, clearing out clutter on your phone and your inbox, clearing out your car, your actual house, clearing out the body, mind, and spirit, everything. So this is a period where you're going to be, I would say, for the next 6 months, really purging and keeping house, keeping your own house together. And then you have the elder tree. And it makes me think of Elton John, elderberry wine. And I wish I knew this deck better, but I feel like this is medicinal. And so I am going to say that, like, by taking care of house and sticking with your housekeeping every single day, you will be putting yourself in, it'll be a medicine for the Geminis, suns, risings, and moons. That's kind of what I'm picking up. All right, Cancer. So this full moon is opposite of the Cancer sun. Happy birthday to the Cancers. You are in the seventh house of partnerships on this full moon. So this is love partnerships, business partnerships, every relationship that you come into contact. If you hear that beeping, I am dehydrating catnip from my garden for my kitties. All right, so this is about sorting cancers. And so you're going to have to sort and sift through all of your relationships for the next 6 months and figure out who stays and who goes. Who are you sending to the donate pile and who is going into the trash? And remember, when we take the trash out, we don't bring it back in to our house, cancers. And you have the chestnut tree. Look at those spiny balls. And I just walked past one of these trees the other day. They are kind of fascinating, but chestnut trees often have become disease ridden. And I think that it's because, in this case with the cards, we allow relationships in our lives to stay far beyond their expiration date. All I have to say about that. So, the Leos, you are the eighth house of marriage, shared things, taxes, inheritances, debt, sex, and money, bills. You have apprenticeship. So this, for the Leos, this is the beginning of something possibly brand new. Could be new marriages, could be new relationships, new income sources, or with it being the eighth house, it could be new bills that have been unexpected. Now, remember, Jupiter will be entering Leo on June 30th. And so that could be hard hit for the next 12 months. Uh, Things could be going from the spectrum of super grand and wonderful to total opposite. Because Jupiter is the planet, even though he's the greater benefic, he deals equal ills and blessings. But the apprenticeship says that, for a lot of Leos, if you've been looking for a job, this is new job opportunities, new income sources. And you have the goddess Demeter. And I think that that's pretty wonderful with this apprentice because, oh, you can't really even see. There we go. The goddess Demeter, because this is about abundance and prosperity and being able to feed your family and nourish yourself and nourish the land and live off of the land. So I think that that's pretty good for the Leos. The thing that gets me though is the South Node is getting ready to enter Leo in the third week of July. And typically, from financial astrology, and I've talked about this before, is that's usually when markets crash. And so it's interesting because it's coming in at the time of basket slash cradle. And although it, appears that there is a renaissance on the horizon, we have to collapse before we can rebuild. And so I don't know how that's going to show up. Plus, also, I have made some financial predictions based on historically over the last 100 years with the astrology, but I feel like governments around the world or country governments everywhere, they're playing with the markets. So we're not really getting a true sense of the volatility. But if you're an everyday citizen and you're having to go and buy groceries, gasoline, or just live, pay your electric bill, your water bill, whatever, you know that you are spending a lot more than you have been. Um, I think there was a report that came out today that said the average American is spending over 200 a month more on groceries than they did this time last year. And that's just by buying the same exact things that they would typically buy. Um, so governments are saying, oh, the economy's doing great. Like stock markets are doing great, but people aren't doing great. And I feel like, the collapse has to come, the recession has to come. So just be on the lookout for that. Virgo, you're in the ninth house. This is about expansion. It's about beliefs, religion, education, travel overseas, foreigners, foreign things, legal issues. And you have the glass mountain. So what I pick up from this, whether that's it's the intention of this card, the glass mountain, think about trying to climb a glass mountain. You're not going to get very far because how are you going to get up there? You're going to slide down, uh, or you could see through that mountain. That's pretty strange. I'm getting the vision of like trying to climb up on a window and sliding down, not being able to reach the top. What is this? That's a square, the glass mountain. I just have to see. The glittering glass mountain represents everything that's beautiful but utterly unattainable. So, see, yeah, that's exactly what I was picking up as well. Is like trying to climb this glass mountain, but always sliding down every time you get to the top. And then you have primrose, and I love that. The primrose is a spring flower. It is a perennial in many places. Um, so going back to this, so Virgo, what is it that you're trying to attain that you keep working towards and striving for, and it's totally unattainable? Maybe this full moon is the time for you to let it go. Just let it go. Come up with something new. With the energy being in the ninth house, open up your mind, open up your perception. Libra, you are 10th house, career, mother, father energy. What are you known for in the outer world? Energy. And I have to laugh because my best friend is a Libra and it's witch energy. And so this is says to me immediately, Libras, you need to make your own magic and stick by it. Like stop wishing that things won't have are not happening fast enough. Like use your own magic. Maybe you have to make some potions or do some rituals, but if you want to be known for something different in the outer world, you need to be your own witch. And another thing that was that Lee Harris had said when I saw his oneness event, which was amazing, by the way. I was in the fourth row. I could basically reach out and touch him. He is such a fine person in every way, shape, and form. And his collaborator, musician, Devor Bozique he's funny and the music was so nice. But anyway, he said, a lot of us are praying for a miracle to happen, but we haven't invited that miracle in. We just sit in a corner and pray for this miracle, pray for something to happen. We have to actually invite that miracle in. So, does that mean that you got to get rid of clutter and make space for that thing to come in? So, we have to actively be our own witches and invite that in. And we have the apple tree. And what I'm picking up with the apple tree is be careful of the perception of what seems wonderful because you may turn that piece of fruit around and it's rotten on the other side. And I'm not always just talking about fruit. Okay. Um, After Libra comes Scorpio. See, it's been a while. I can't think. Scorpio, you're the 11th house of dreams, hopes, and wishes, and our friends. And you have dismemberment. So, Scorpio, who are you dismembering? This is like the fixed star algol chopping of the head off. This is saying that you need to let go of a huge branch of what has maybe that you have identified with and is your persona, and you really need to amputate that with this full moon. And then your Urbana card is the shoot. So, in order for something new to grow, you do have to do some heavy pruning, Scorpio. What I'm getting from that, Sagittarius, you are the 12th house, and this will be the last card. Sagittarius, the 12th house of deep sorrow, imprisonment, hospitals, hidden enemies, karma, what is coming to you. And I love it. I love it. It's the fairy godmother. Didn't even know she was in this deck. But we all know what the fairy godmother is. She grants the wish, but it doesn't always last forever, or does it? And you have spring. So, Sagittarians, oh, look how pretty that is. I love these cards. This is cute. There's like a little snail. It's all little spring flowers. So, Sagittarius, I think that this could be a little bit of a rough year for you. However, come spring, things should turn around and your fairy godmother will show up for you. All righty. All I've got for you. I hope you really like this. And hopefully I'll be back again soon now that I've like cracked the shell. Take care. Happy full moon and let's talk soon. Bye.